I wanted to introduce that good-looking guy in a suit over there, who never wears a suit but did today, Cam Cassidy. He's an investor-focused realtor, facilitator for the Humber College Real Estate Program, short and long-term rental house provider, and most importantly, a husband, a father to Austin and Brooks. I started attending Durham REI in December 2016. Shortly after that, I started buying properties in Durham region and converting them to legal 2 units, also helping a number of investors do the same. November 2021, I started purchasing properties in Florida to Airbnb and have self-managed them using a number of apps and systems that I am excited to share with you this evening. Without further ado, Cam Cassidy.
How's the pointer work? Green thing?
Yeah.
Put this down here. Yeah, it's okay. All right, so I need to dress better in, shouldn't wear sweatpants normally and then put on a jacket. I get it. Thanks, Quentin, for having me. Really is an honor to be speaking here in front of all of you. I know, or have met most of you, colleagues, friends now, people that I'm acquainted with. And I still remember the first meeting in 2016. I know a lot of you, this is your first meeting. I'll never forget the first meeting. I literally heard the word HELOC and had to Google what is HELOC, and then now you'll find the irony of that through some of the presentation and that. So yeah, it's come full circle for me, and yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about my journey and a couple of the properties that I bought. I'm not an expert by any means. I should have had a disclaimer slide like Brooke did about I'm not an expert in any of this. I'm just your average investor going to Florida, even though I'm a realtor here. In Florida, I'm just an average person. So I put up here just a couple items here. So the earn the super host bonus. So what that is if you've been a super host for 4 quarters, then you get a bonus. You get like $100 or something credit to attend an Airbnb or something like that. The second one here, showing kind of the number of stays, the cancellation rate, my overall rating for the 62 stays, which is 5 stars between these 2 properties, and 100% response rate. So just, again, maybe a little bit of credibility for what I'm sharing and showing with this self-management through the Airbnbs. This photo here is my condo that I bought right on the water, so that is a picture right off my cell phone. 3-bedroom condo, I'll get into the details of that. And then this is the duplex that I bought after that I'm going to be talking about tonight. So, figuring out how to set this up, I'm going to do a quick overview of buying properties in the States. So, I get a lot of questions around that. Again, very straightforward, but I'll just quickly go over that. I know there's a lot of information about that, but I felt like I needed to provide some context for you so that, as I get into the next items there as well. Again, we'll look at the 2 properties that I purchased. I'm going to give you as much information as I can. You'll see I'm absolutely opening everything to what I did, mistakes I've made, numbers, and again, happy to answer any questions around those properties. And then lastly, the management tools. So, I know Quentin's talking about how, it's an active business, and I fully thought and expected and were preparing for it to be an active business, but have been pleasantly surprised at how systemated it can be. So I'm going to share some of the tools that I've been using with that at the end. Okay, so this slide, I almost feel like I had to put this in here. I know Quentin starts his meetings with this, and I get so many people that call me or want to chat with me when I post anything about it, and they're like, hey, I'm like, well, how do I get a mortgage broker? I'm like, call someone. How do I find it? I'm like, if you were here wanting to buy in Sudbury or Windsor, you'd have to build your power team. It's absolutely no different in the States. Mortgage broker, accountant, realtor / wholesaler, insurance agent, property manager, contractor, whatever you need, right? So, and again, I know everyone in this room is familiar with that, but it really is that straightforward. I call the broker in the States, I call the realtor in Florida, I connected with wholesalers there, have an insurance agent, have an accountant, accountant's up there, yeah, as well. So that's pretty straightforward, but again, felt like I had to add this slide here. Again, another slide for context. Where did I buy? So the state of Florida here, again, everyone should be familiar with this. Felt like I had to add this slide in as well, just to give you an idea, because there is lots of different areas that people are investing in Florida. Orlando, obviously where Disney is, Miami down further south. We've had even speakers here from Jacksonville that are investing in Jacksonville. And then this is where I'm investing, which is just outside of Tampa and Clearwater. And if you see the image on the right here, you see it's just a blown up image of what downtown Tampa is. And then this whole area is St. Petersburg. So you have downtown St. Pete's right here. You'd be familiar with Clearwater Beach, and you have a whole slew of beaches that run down. So Indian Rocks, Indian Shores, Reddington Beach, Madeira Beach, Treasure Island, St. Pete's Beach there as well. So just to give you an idea, this is Gulf Boulevard here, and this is the area that I've been focusing in and will continue to buy in as well. Why did I buy there? That's the good question. So I said I started in November of 2021. Realtors in the room, actually a lot of you in the room would remember October 2021, the first legal 2 unit sold for $1,005,000. Anita's shaking her head. I know she remembers it. I remember we were texting between each other going like, holy smokes, like that is a big number. At the time, that is exactly when I was researching here and studying and going, I need to try something else. I didn't like that and wanted to do something else. I would like to give you a sophisticated answer as to why I picked Tampa or St. Petersburg, but the truth is my wife grew up there, her mom lives there, we traveled there a lot, so that's where we invested. We knew we were going to be going down there a lot with them, so there's lots of people right now that are investing in Cape Coral, Naples, all different parts of Florida. So I'm not here to kind of pitch a certain area that you should invest in. I think there's pros and cons, and there's lots of video and content and speakers that talk a lot about that. It was more of a selfish reason, but there is still some things that I really like about it, and it just so happens to be about 45 minutes from a major city like Tampa. And where else do we know that it's around 45 minutes from a major city in Canada here, right? So a lot of similarities I do see with St. Petersburg to kind of Durham region versus Toronto. You're on the outskirts a bit. But even with all that being said, this is vacation rental, right? So this is short-term rentals. It's different than long-term rentals. It's different than multifamily, that type of stuff. Okay, so a couple more notes. Buying properties in the States. All this is from my personal experience. Financing is pretty straightforward if you're buying in your personal name. Both of those properties are in my personal name. Again, I know, probably not correct. I know I've already spoken to a few people saying, you should be doing this and that and that. And I said, look, I spoke to my accountant. I told him my situation, and that's what he said. So for me, they're both in my personal name. Very straightforward. They look at your Canadian credit. They look at your income. They convert it to US dollars, and you're pre-approved. You can expect to put 30% down, although I did refinance that duplex with only 25% in or 75% loan to value. Opening bank accounts, getting credit cards, all very straightforward. Don't overthink it. Walk into a bank, they'll open an account for you. Structure, personal name, not double taxed. Again, that's was the thinking behind it. From what my accountant told me was that if you're in an American Corp or an LLC, you're going to be double taxed. So if it's in your personal name, you get credit through the CRA. So that if you pay tax to the IRS, then you get credit through the CRA. So I know there's other strategies out there. The other big item there is you get financing in your personal name. So title companies. So in the States, they use title companies. They don't have like 2 lawyers like they do here. Usually the seller picks the title company, and the buyer will use the same title company, and that's how they transfer over the title. Super quick and scary, and I'll tell you a story about that once we get to the duplex of how I essentially thought I was scammed on the duplex. But wholesalers, they double close instead of assign contracts like they do here. So the second property I bought through a wholesaler, I'm not even sure why they double close. I think it's because a lot of times the wholesalers are actual realtors as well. So I think it's a disclosure thing with the seller or the original seller, but I'm not 100% sure why they double close. So they'll close on the property and then you'll have the contract in place at that same time. I know you can do that in Ontario as well, but a lot less common here with that. Offering on a property, you have to disclose what type, if it's a cash purchase or if it's conditional on financing or how you're funding this. So, and again, I'll get into this once we get into the purchase of the condo, which I did through a traditional bank and was a slower process. And yeah, it definitely changed the way I approached the purchase on my second one. And then comps. Comps are a lot tougher in the States because they have properties that'll go pending. They are not, they're sold firm, or I guess still sold conditional, but they won't give you the price until it actually closes. So even when I was purchasing the condo, there was another unit that both sold at around the same time, and we weren't closing for 40, 45 days, so both of us were like trying to wait and see who paid what, right? It was this, kind of lag in data that I like to say. So, running comps can be a little bit trickier. Okay, that's out of the way. So hopefully that just lays some groundwork. We'll get into kind of the properties that I purchased. So the first one was Indian Shores, again, November 2021. It's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, right on the beach, just over 1,000 square feet. You can see this is the balcony that overlooks the beach. The sun sets right here every single night. Came fully renovated, fully furnished, nothing required. What I did like about it is the 1,000 square feet there was very efficient. The layout was really good. There was 2 master bedrooms as far as I'm concerned, with 2 king beds. So you had the one master with the ensuite, and then the second one had a day bed in it as well. So in my mind, there's a lot of condos there that are like 1,500 square feet, 1,400 square feet, but horrible layouts and just inefficient. And so this one I really liked that it had basically 2 masters. In my mind, it was 2 families could come. This condo board allows minimum 6 people, or maximum 6 people, excuse me, in the unit. So I still wanted something where you could have 2 families that would share this if they were going to pay the premium prices that I'd like. Yeah, financials showing $100K in revenue from the previous year. So, obviously like that I could just run some math on it and say, okay, it was already on Airbnb, it was already producing money. It was just simple, let's just run the math and see how it plays out. This city and building allowed for 7-day rentals. So a lot of those beaches, like Madeira Beach, they only allow minimum 30 days. So Indian Rocks, Indian Shores are the 2 in Treasure Island, the 3 that I really like, because they've already approved the process. They've already said, here's what we're going to allow. So they this whole area is vacation land, vacation rental land. So it has already been discussed. And even with the building itself, well, you'll see in the next slide here, there's only 2 owners that actually live in the entire building. There's 72 units, I think, and so most of them are investors or some type of short-term rental provider. I purchased this one through a realtor, so again, contacted a realtor down there who knew the area, who knew the beaches, who taught me a lot of this stuff or educated me on a lot of this stuff. I purchased this with a bank through Citadel, so an American bank. I got a 30-year term. And it's looking really good right now, with the rates going up. So, but they were really slow, and it was painful. And I purchased this in November, closed December 20th or December 19th, somewhere around there. And first of all, what they tried to do is I had a rate, they gave me a rate of like 4.2% or something like that. On the Thursday, I was supposed to close on the Monday. The Thursday, they came back and said, your rate is now 5.2%. And I'm like, okay, I'm closing in 3 days. How, this is extortion. Why are you, how are you just adjusting your rate? I thought I had it, all these things going through their mind. So I was at that point, ready to walk away. I was able to negotiate it down to 4.8. But the problem then came when I flew in on Monday, and they started asking for other documents. Right? They're going, okay, well, I'm like, whoa, what's going on? I thought this was a done deal. I thought, I'm here. I'm here ready to close. I'm here ready to sign. And, I actually went to the title company that was supposed to close it, and they said, oh, you're doing financing? Don't worry. This is this is normal here and things like that. So I was just a little bit shaken up by that. I did end up closing it on the Friday, and why I was so stressed out is because, and again, I don't think you're allowed to do this, but I did, is essentially took the listing photos, threw it up on Airbnb in November, and had $45,000 in bookings before I even closed on the property. So I closed on the Friday, and the first guest came on the Monday. Again, it was fully furnished, ready to go, so I basically got in, cleaned it up, and had it ready to go. This is kind of the building here with the pool and the beach, and this is the Gulf Boulevard here. This is the master bedroom that opens up to the balcony, and that's the pool and hot tub area down there as well. So here's the numbers. Here's how it breaks down. So I purchased it for $935 in a bidding war. Down payment was 30%, closing costs $15,000, no renovation, so after repair value, $935. So I had $295,000. Again, this is all US dollars. In 2022, I did $106,000. My expenses were $64,000. So annual cash flow of $42,000. That works out to about $3,500 monthly, giving me a 14.2% cash on cash return. And we spent 5 weeks there with our family in that as well. So I was pretty happy with that for the first year. And again, self-managed, and I would take those numbers. And I'm hoping this year does better with the management and stuff like that. But yeah. That's what an average month looks like. So this was September of 2022. So I had 4 guests. That's what they each paid each week. So I brought in $9,822. And here's exactly what I paid. So my mortgage payment's $3,400, property tax, insurance, HOA fees, which include water, cable, and internet. But you'll also see I pay for internet down here as well. I actually pay for a higher speed just because it comes with a standard. But again, it's such an important feature. So I paid the extra, $30 a month to get a higher speed there. Price slabs we'll talk about coming up. Hydro, cleaning fees. There are 4 cleaning fees to match the 4. And this one I picked because I had to replace a microwave. I had to get someone to come in. There's a over-the-range microwave that I had, so I had to hire someone, go to Walmart, pick it up, install it. It was pretty straightforward, but figured I'd include that there. And this is what I have projected for 2023. So January, I had 4 people stay. This ended up being true. This person staying right now has paid $7,300. And this person, the 2 $5,000 ones, they're actually here for 3 weeks. That's one person who paid $10,000 for 3 weeks. And then I had a 4-night window. And again, I'm not supposed to do this because it's a 7-night minimum, but I had these 4 nights in March. I said, forget it, I'll take the risk if the condo wants to find me. I don't know, they can find me. But they paid $2,600 for the 4 nights. And then that's what I got for April booked so far, and that's only half the month. Some of these bleed over on that, just trying to give you a rough idea. And also the fluctuations of pricing that could happen month to month, depending on the booking and the pricing strategy, which we'll talk a little bit about as well. Okay, so the second property purchased February 2022. So this one closed December, purchased this one. Side-by-side duplex in Treasure Island. So it's just up the beach when you saw that map there. So 2 units, one bed, 1 bath for each unit. 1 street off the beach. So the house is right here, this one. So you just kind of come through here. There's like a public beach, like showers and restaurants, or not restaurants, but like a convenience store or things like that, and then you have the whole beach there as well. Purchased it off a wholesaler, sight unseen, 2-week closing. So I kind of went from being super safe and conservative to I'm addicted, I love it. I was seeing results, I was feeling pretty good, and then went a little crazy here. It came with 2 tenants, each paying $1,350. When I was doing the research in the area, 1 bedrooms in the area were doing about $40,000 a year on Airbnb. But when I saw them, I was literally like, I can beat that. I can design better than that. I can manage better than that. I'm sure everyone says that, but it just wasn't that impressive, the fact that what they were doing. And then market rent in the area was roughly $1,800. So yeah. So I decided not to renew one of the units. Yes, that's allowed. Just basically said, sorry, your lease is up. I'm gonna, do something else with it. Don't even have to give a reason for it. Renovated and listed on Airbnb. The second unit I decided to raise to $1,800 plus utilities. Again, yes, that's allowed. Just said, hey, I'm raising your rent. So one side I had a long-term tenant, and the other side I was gonna Airbnb. Really just wanted to test it out, see what it was like managing long-term tenants in the States from afar, seeing what it was like to manage the Airbnb as well. And yeah, some challenges with that. So contractor didn't show up. Had anyone have that issue? That happened? Yes, that happens here as well. So when I was renovating the unit, I thought I had somebody lined up, ended up having to scramble and get people there, but yeah, had to do it. Forced to do the reno, to do the roof, to get insurance. So insurance, there was 3 years left on the roof, is what the inspection said. And I said, great, you got 3 years, no problem. Insurance said, no, if there's 3 years left, you have to redo the roof. I went, okay. So had to get that done. And then, yeah, I purchased this with a Canadian HELOC and then refinanced it with a US HELOC. So this is the master bedroom, king size bed in here. This goes into the bathroom, which you can kind of see here, and then a kitchen. Nice little small efficient unit. Didn't want to have too many photos in that, but yeah. So this one, $515 was the purchase price. Put 100% down on the HELOC. $3,000 in closing costs. These were lower because I didn't have to pay a broker fee, a mortgage broker fee like I did on the condo. Renovations $30K, so it was a $10K reno. Doing tile, painting, flooring in the bedroom, simple stuff. $10K to furnish, and then the roof, the $10K there as well. So I did get and again, my timing, my thought was in February when interest rates were low, I'll refinance into a 30-year term. I just love that with the condo. But the problem was I didn't know, because my mind was, okay, great, they don't see a mortgage on it. I can just go to a lender and say, hey, I got this property free and clear. Do you want to put a mortgage on it? And they all said no. Even if you don't have a mortgage on it, it's considered a refinance. You have to wait 6 months. I went, okay. So that changed things. The interest rates went sky high in 6 months, and obviously squeezed and pinched a little bit. So yeah, cash left in the deal. And again, this is just kind of hypothetical because I didn't end up actually refinancing, so to speak, but just gives you an idea of the deal breakdown. And yeah, so I have one long-term tenant paying $1,800 a month, and Airbnb bringing in $3,500 to $4,500 a month. Here's January that just passed. So I had someone in the one bedroom pay $808, someone pay $3,300. That was obviously a longer stay, and then my long-term tenant pay $1,800. So the one bedroom the whole duplex brought in $5,900, and here's exactly how my January expenses break down. So again, not as much cash flow here, but I am leveraged 100% on this, so it kind of comes with the territory, I guess. Property taxes, yeah, high there. What did I want to show you? The insurance. The insurance on this one, so the condo was only like $200 and something a month. That was actually surprisingly cheaper, but this one, much more expensive. It's in a flood zone apparently. It is in a flood zone, so the insurance was crazy high for that, and then flood insurance as well. So. And here's how January, February, March is looking so far for this. So getting into the high season, again, 1,800 is the long-term tenant, so I've added that in there as well. And then these other three, so 3 stays in March. Again, a long one here, 4,700, 4,100. And again, this is a one bedroom, just, small, 500, 600 square feet, one bedroom unit. Okay, so part 3 of this is kind of then management tools. That's kind of just the summary of what I bought, how they're doing, give you a sense of things there. What really sparked my interest and when Quint and I started talking about this is, the management of it, which has been, to me, more surprising. The other stuff is probably, pretty straightforward for most of you. I was expecting to run an active business. I kind of got my war paint on. Everything I was reading about was, get ready. This is super active compared to what I'm doing here, which is all just long-term tenants. I was pleasantly surprised at how many tools there were for hosts and how automated things can be. And I still remember when I closed on the condo, there's like a property management company that rents an office in the bottom of the building. And I go in there and they're like, you're going to self-manage this? I was like, is that a problem? Like, is this an issue? They're like, what are you going to do for parking passes? I'm like, I don't know, like what's the rules here? What do I need to do? And they were like, well, each guest has to have a parking pass. I'm like, well, can I laminate 2 passes and leave them in the unit? She's like, well, I guess so. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, it was just funny, like they were really you could tell they wanted you to use them. They were the management company. And I kind of said, I want to try it. I know I'm not supposed to. I know I should hire a company, but again, I'm excited. This is my first property in Florida. I got lots of energy here. I'm ready to go kind of thing. So yeah, and this is a screenshot from my actual phone of my little folder of the tools I use for this. So VRBO, Airbnb, Lodgify is my property management, or my, what's it called? Like a yeah, it's like a general management company that comes with its own website. I'll dig in a little bit, I'll talk more about that. Turnover B&B, which is the absolute best, and saved a ton of work. TD Bank in the States. And, I forgot to mention what I love about TD Bank in the States too. I'm with TD Canada Trust, and I could transfer money just over between the two apps. Like I was able to get them connected. So I want to transfer like $5,000 from my American to Canadian. I just go on and transfer. It's super easy. I don't know if every bank has that, but I just absolutely love the feature. It's simple with it. Spectrum is the internet. So again, it could tell me if there's issues with the internet and they're not working. Blink, which is cameras, so just have that on the front doors so I can see when people are coming, cleaners are coming, things like that. This is for my accountant, so the client portal where I load up all documents for tax time, and then Price Labs, which we'll talk about there as well. But these are all the concerns and challenges I heard or still do hear. How is my guest going to check in? I'm like, you're going to put a digital lock on, right? It's funny how many people let that hold them back. It's like, how are they going to get in? It's like, we have digital lock. You just send them the code, right? It's very straightforward, but sometimes people overthink these types of things. Who's going to clean the unit? What about if something breaks like a microwave? What do you do then? How do you know how much to charge per night? And what if somebody trashes my place, right? There's all these, thoughts out there. I'm sure all of you have had these going, I can't do Airbnb. This could happen or this can happen. So we'll talk about how some of these tools can mitigate that. So just a visual of the apps I use for the condo, which is different from the duplex. So these are kind of 4 sources where I bring in people. So this is my like a private website that is set up through Lodgify. So if I have friends or family or I have repeat guests, I get them to go through the personal website. It saves them some fees. And I'll talk more about that. But VRBO, Airbnb, and Florida Rentals I just got on. I'm surprised. Someone mentioned it to me. I just put this up about a month ago, and was shocked at how many people actually use the Florida Rentals, and then I essentially direct them to my private website. Lodgify kind of puts everything together, so it coordinates all the messages in one spot, and then Turnover B&B as well. And then for the duplex, it's very simple. I'm only on Airbnb and Turnover B&B. That's it. Again, I was very eager and energetic with the condo, and maybe did some stuff that isn't even necessary, but it can be as simple as just being on Airbnb and using Turnover B&B as well, and Price Labs gets mixed into that as well. So Airbnb, your main source of revenue, I would say 95% of my bookings come through Airbnb. It does all the heavy lifting. They charge the guest 15% and the host 3%. So not bad gig for them. They're making 18% per transaction. Extremely detailed listings. I wish realtors in Ontario took note of this, and we had similar systems set up where they literally make you put in everything, and it's in your best interest to put in everything, like the kind of coffee maker you have, and the brand of this and that, but it eliminates questions. So you get this extremely detailed listing, and it helps lower any sort of questions that your future guests may have. I have Instant Book on with restrictions, so you can put in some limitations, like they need to have their ID checked, they need to have this, things like that. So there's a few options there as well. And then automated messages. So as soon as somebody books, they get a message saying, thanks for booking, looking forward to hosting you. Don't worry, I'm going to be sending out Wi-Fi, lockbox codes 2 days before your arrival. So they're like, okay, great. And they usually respond back. But again, all that happens automated. 2 days before you have a message set up, and you are giving them all that information. When a day before they check out, you can give them kind of a reminder of here's what you should do, or here's how you check out, here's what you should or shouldn't do, and then kind of a follow-up message after that. So everything can be automated. There's great insights on the app, so it can tell you how many people are liking your listing, how many people are viewing it, the conversion rates that you have, things like that. And the $1 million air cover that they have. So, this has been a great tool as well. I know one of the fears people have is what if someone trashes it, or what about the wear and tear on your stuff? And to me, the $1 million air cover plus your insurance you have, plus the condo has its own insurance as well, but it's super straightforward. You have pictures of the damage, you send it to them, and you don't have to go after the guests. You don't have that friction with them. They say something broke, you're like, no problem. You send me a photo of it, you get a photo of it, and AirCover takes care of it, right? And they may go after the actual person who booked, but it's out of your hands there as well. And believe it or not, I've had people like, someone broke the blinds and they replaced the blinds for me because the system's set up where they know that I'm going to review them and they're reviewing me. So there's this weird friction where it's like they don't want a bad review because then they can't use the app anymore. So they're trying their best to be a good guest, to make sure they leave the place well, and I'll do this. And honestly, like I said, I spent 3 weeks there at my condo, and I went in there in August and was like, dang, this place looks better than I left it. The cupboards were stocked, things were deep cleaned. Again, it was a good feeling. And VRBO is the same. It doesn't get used as much. It's literally about 5% of the bookings, at least in Florida, at least in this market. So Logify is the property management software company I use. So it gives you a personal website and it connects absolutely everything. So all your messages, all your notifications are in one place. Lots of other integrations that I haven't even started using or looked into. So you could see the condo has an assigned website and the duplex doesn't. So it's just, I have it there if I want to do personal bookings, I could, but it doesn't have its own website yet. And I could add that if I wanted to, but again, it's been booking out so well, and yeah, just doing well. And the main reason for the personal website, I think I have this coming up, but another fear or challenge is what if Airbnb shuts down your listing, right? So sometimes there's people that, for whatever reason, either glitches or I've just heard horror stories of that. So this allows me to collect people's email, allows me to have a database of people. Actually, I think I have it on my next. Okay, it might be in a slide coming up, but yeah, it allows me to then collect information. I get a lot of repeat guests through this as well. They say, hey Cam, I'd love to come back. I say, hey, here's where you can book. So yeah, just kind of a protection against if Airbnb shuts down your listing. You don't have all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. And this is like, whew, this literally, my biggest fear when I bought the condo was cleaning, like coordinating cleaning. That's where I thought all of my time would be spent, calling the cleaners, arranging it, making sure they're doing a good job. And I went there in December. I met my cleaner for the first time, like a year. It was like a year of her cleaning it. And I actually just checked, I don't have this up on the slide, but I was like, I wonder if this is in Canada. I put my primary residence in, about 2 hours before on the app, and have a cleaner that already was matched and gave me a quote on what it would be to clean my house. And what I love about it is it syncs to all platforms, so there's no communication required. So as soon as somebody books, your cleaner will get a notification. They'll accept the cleaning, so you'll see it, okay, they've accepted the cleaning, good, they're on the ball there. I would like to say I uploaded the checklist, but my cleaner was like, no, here's what we're gonna do. They're in this area, they know what they're doing. I have 3 cleaners, so 2 as backup. So if something goes wrong or someone can't clean, my cleaner's never canceled or never had an issue, but it's nice to have backups if needed. They upload photos after each clean, so I'll just get a notification saying, yep, the clean is complete. Here's all the photos of the unit. Any problems there, they'll have on the app, and they charge the credit card automatically. So there's zero communication from my end, zero work. It's literally just, oh, someone booked, cleaner accepted. It's a bunch of notifications you get on your phone. I'm sure we're all getting multiple notifications, but really if there's only then a problem where you're like, okay, I have to order some more toilet paper or something broke that the guest didn't tell me about. Those are the only times where you're active and stepping in. And yeah, it just really made the whole process really streamlined for me, and little to no work from that regard. And yeah, they just changed their name to Turno. So yeah, I'm used to Turnover B&B, but they literally as of a week ago changed it to Turno. So if you're looking for it, and it is in Canada. And I mean, even if you don't find cleaners, if you found one, I would say, hey, do you want to use this app? Because it's already set up. They charge a fee, like I think my clean cost $148, but then they'll charge my credit card $155. So they take $7 a clean or something like that, whatever that is. So it's just a small fee. There's no ongoing fee or monthly fee or anything like that. They just take a small percentage off each clean. Yeah, so this is the personal website that I have. So, again, this is with the condo. So what I do is when guests check in, they have like a pamphlet on the back of the door. And so what I made the Wi-Fi name is the website, the personal website. So sandcastlecondo.com is my personal website. So they instantly know, okay, there's a website, I'll go check it out. And then right when they get on the homepage, it's like, hey, I put a personal picture of me because I wanted to know this is like a real site. And if you wanted to book through here, you could save yourself the 15% fees. So what I normally get is people that end up leaving, they go, I saw your website, or they'll email me through the website and they'll rebook through the website. So then it's like, great, you have, again, just kind of building contacts, building people that want to book the place. So, yeah, and just those points are what I mentioned before. Okay, this is Price Slab. So this is what I started using probably about, I don't know when exactly I started using it, but it was an absolute game changer for actually maximizing the pricing strategy. And I mean, this is one of the hardest parts of any business, I would argue, is pricing, of what you should price. There was so many times where it'd be like, oh, I got this 1 week and I have it priced at $3,000. Should I lower it? Shouldn't I? Maybe someone will book it. When do I book? When do I lower it? You're kind of gambling with it, and you could set, with this, it just kind of sets it for you. You set your minimums, your maximums for each one, and they adjust the pricing for holidays, events. They compare your listing to what's your competition, and if they see that your competition is booking up, then they know, okay, there's slim pickings now, and you can set your occupancy rate that you want. So these are the blurred images here. This is 7 days, 30 days, and 60 days. So you could set it so that if you're like 7 days out, it'll drop your price so that it'll get booked out. So it's obviously trying to maximize it. It put my condo at $550 a night, and I was like, no, this is wrong. I'm like, all right, just trust it. And I'm like getting bookings going like, I never would have priced it that high. Never would have thought to price it that high. And it just takes it out of my control, where there was times when it was like, oh, someone booked it. I was like, damn, I had it at that price. I didn't realize that was Labor Day weekend, and it's a popular time to book. So yeah, it just for me now, it's taken that out of my mind too. I don't have to, and I was enjoying it at first because it was kind of fun to price and see what people would book at and things like that. But yeah, this just really took it out of my hands, and I've been pleasantly surprised. Airbnb does have smart pricing. I've heard not bad things about it, just people where like, oh, they priced it at here and things like that. So they are, I think, trying to like cut out price slabs, because it is $34 for the 2 properties. But I don't know, I've had success with it. I've been, seen a crazy amount of value in it. So I'll continue to use it and see if the smart pricing through Airbnb changes anything. And this syncs all with everything too, through Logify too. So if it changes the price, it'll change it in VRBO, it'll change it on my personal website, it'll change it on Airbnb. So there's no going like through each one to modify it or change it. Some final thoughts. I am self-managing these. So property managers typically charge 20 to 25%. I think that's crazy. When I heard that, I was like, that is wild to me. If on 100K revenue, that's 25K a year. I think there was a time for the property managers in the short-term rental game, but I think now with apps and systems, I do little to no management through it. Again, it's just my opinion, but I do want to share that, my numbers are, without the property management in there, right? So if you wanted the property management in there, that's going to affect your cash flows, of course, right? Short-term rentals are a business, as you know, but there are a lot of factors that depend on the success of it. I know people are saying right now, like, oh, like demand is low and, this and that. And, I really think it depends on what you purchase, depends on the amenities, the furnishings, the pricing strategy, the marketing, the photos, the communication. Are you responding back? Things like that. So it really is an active business in that sense, is if you don't do it well, then again, you could have people not booking. You could, I see some listings where people are struggling. Okay, send me your listing, and I'm like, okay, why'd you get that couch? Was a discount. I got a deal on. I'm like, okay, you can't have a 40-year-old couch in your Airbnb. I'm sorry. Like guests are gonna not book literally because of these minor issues and things like that. So Again, just a reminder with that. So, for me, when I was thinking about where to buy, I wanted to be in somewhere where it was a vacation spot, right? Like it was truly like, is anyone ever going to not want to sit on the balcony and watch the sunset? I don't think there's ever going to be a time. Will rates fluctuate and change, and could demand change? Sure, but that was what I told myself. Can the numbers still work in the high interest rate environments? I think so. Again, it's tighter like everywhere. Everyone's facing the same challenges with any type of investment property. I'm still looking at deals down there. I do have that access to funds that I'm looking at. So, it's just a common question that I've been getting is, can the numbers still work down there? I think so. But again, those interest rates are going to be a lot higher. The numbers are not going to be as good as I would think. And the hurricanes, am I scared of hurricanes? Yes. I know a lot about hurricanes now after Hurricane Ian and, where it was tracking and this and that. It is a concern if buying in Florida or buying in an area like that. You should be aware of it. My insurance, I pay a premium for that to make sure. I was really worried about that duplex being floating down the street. The condo, not so much. It was interesting, my thought process there. But yeah. And am I going to continue to buy there? I'll go where the numbers work. So I'm always just kind of analyzing and looking, and again, I want to see where demands, where we see demand and things like that. But certainly. And that's it, folks.
We should do some question and answer here, because I know that there's going to be some different questions around this. So so we'll get started. Sarah, I just have to repeat the question. Yeah.
So on Lodify, doing private booking, how will you get paid? Is it through Lodify, or do you have to have a separate step?
Yeah.
So how do you do private bookings on Lodify with regards to how the payments get made?
Yeah, they have a payment processor. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I can't remember the name of it. There is a payment processor that it sets you up with, and they do collect a small fee there as well. Yeah, I'll look up the name here. It's on my app, but it's through Lodify. Yeah, it's a common one. I'll
Stripe or Square.
Stripe. It is Stripe. Yeah. I was going to say it starts with an S, but I don't want to sound. But it is Stripe. Yeah.
All right. A couple of other. Drew.
I was just curious how much, when you're getting financing in the States, how much are they looking at you? Is it just like you're qualifying for a property up here, they're looking at your Canadian income?
Yep.
So if you're qualifying for a property in the States, were they looking at the same sort of criteria in Canada as they are in the U.S.?
Yeah, and again, that through your personal name, they're looking at your income, they're looking at your assets, they're qualifying you. As far as I know, again, just the same. That's what I was told. I'm not a mortgage broker, but again, I think if you do, through LLCs or different other strategies, it's going to be different. But yeah.
I have an LP in the U.S. where I've got 4 properties in an LP, and I did a blanket mortgage across all 4 in order to get financing. Cyrus?
When you're looking at condos, what are you looking at for new purchases? Are you looking besides the number of days and HOAs? What else are you looking at in those buildings?
So if with regards to condos, what else are you looking at the buildings other than HOA fees?
And length of time.
And length of time that you can rent out.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you have the municipality that could have their restrictions, and then you also have the HOA, the board, that could have their restrictions. So, that's where my realtor was great down there. She was like, no, I know this building is predominantly investors, so you don't have to worry about them. It was funny when I went to the annual general meeting that there's literally 2 people that live in the whole building. And so I started talking to one of them, and they were like, yeah, we're hoping to vote to make it a 2-week minimum, but there's only 2 of us. I was like, yeah, good luck with that. I don't want that either, right? But it was literally only 2 of them. So, again, that was something that I identified that's like, okay, this isn't going to change, where some boards could vote to say, hey, no, we're going to make it minimum 30 days, things like that. So the other big thing I should mention in Florida, there is going to be new legislation coming out. We've been basically warned that we're going to have a special assessment because of the collapse of the condo in Miami. that they're coming out with some type of legislation to reinforce these buildings. So we've been basically prepped to have a 20K special assessment in the next 3 years. They're gonna look for it, which is nice because you could start budgeting for it, but it is something interesting that because of the condo collapse, they're in the process of creating legislation to force these buildings to have some type of reinforcement or something like that. But that's something else to consider with that. But to me, the layout, this is the challenging part. Like if you buy a condo literally on the other side of Gulf Boulevard, it drops in value like crazy, right? If you go 2 streets off, like you could buy a house in Florida for $100,000, like, it's the prices vary so much. So, my thinking in the first purchase was super safe. Like I was scared. I was like, what's the safest in my mind? 3-bedroom, 2 masters on the beach facing, like, is there ever gonna be a time, 30-year locked in rate? I'm like, okay, I feel good. I felt good about it, right? And I needed something like that to take action to like convince myself to pull the trigger on it because, I think like any normal investor, maybe when you get more experience, but for me still, it's still scary. Every time you buy a property, you always have the doubts in your mind, so that helped.
Yeah. You know what was interesting? I just want to point out, like I have my properties in Florida outside the flood zone, and the insurance is about $100.
Yeah.
Right. So, and the ones that are further out are even less than that. It's kind of interesting. Okay, a couple of questions. So we're going to start off here, and then we'll move over.
Yeah, just regarding the duplex, can you find services through Turno or the outside maintenance, like ground maintenance?
So for the duplex, can you find outside maintenance with Turno or another app?
I don't know I'm sure you could. So what I did for maintenance, I mentioned the person who, all the cleaners have maintenance people, right, that in that area. So I found one. I essentially used him to do the microwave, and I remember I gave him like $100 tip on top of it, and he was like blown away. And he's like, he actually went and got an international plan. He's like, if you need to call me, I could, because we were having trouble with the phone number and stuff like that. But he was blown away by it. So I was like trying to do that to build a relationship because I'm like, I want someone there. But for maintenance, that's one thing. The tenant that I have is absolutely phenomenal down there. Even, I was posting pictures of anyone that follows me of during the hurricane. He put up there's hurricane shutters that come with the house. He put them all up for me. He bunkered down. Like he takes care of the lawn, does the trash, stuff like that. So I'm super lucky with that. And that's why it's challenging because I'm like, his lease is coming up and I'm like, 4,000, that duplex could perform really well if it's both being Airbnb. And I'm sure a few people thought that going, why this guy's nuts? Why is he only taking the 1,800? But the guy's super nice down there. And it's such a different mentality than Ontario. Like he's already like, oh, so what are you thinking? Are you going to renew it? You can raise the rent. Don't worry. Like it's just different than from Ontario. Trust me, right? It's the conversation is very like he was messaging me in December and his lease expires in like May. So just want to know what you're thinking. I'm like, why doesn't this happen in Ontario? And he pays his rent like the month ahead. He's a month ahead on his rent because he's like, and he direct deposits right into my account at TD. So he's like, because he's like, I don't want to be a day late. It's so different mentality, and I'm enjoying that. But I don't know. Yeah, it is refreshing. Yeah.
Great presentation, Cam. Two questions really. Having now owned, purchased, and managed a condo and a detached home, what do you prefer managing outside of numbers? What do you prefer managing? And then second is, you did a lot of these. Yes, one like traditional finance and another almost cash. But if you're thinking velocity of money, would you do BRRRR projects in the U.S. and then Airbnb them?
Yeah, and that's kind of why the duplex was the plan with that, right? Like I bought it off market. I was trying to buy something undervalued that need reno, that needed a lift. Where the condo, I was scared. I was like, I just want to, be safe and tippy toe in. So yeah, I think for scaling, I definitely would want to just find things like that. I've been looking into like boutique motels and things like that. And I mean, it's crazy because like even the people in our building. When I've gotten to know them, like through the annual general meeting and stuff like that, like most of them charge like $1,500 a week. I probably shouldn't tell you this, but they're like older people that are just like, I got people that come, they rebook every week, and I couldn't be like, they can't be bothered, right? They've owned it for so long. They don't like, they're not trying to they're not like investors that are trying to maximize their dollar and things like that. So Yeah, I see opportunity there as well with that. So I mean, it's a good question. I don't know. Like the condo does well. I think I can make $5,000 a month, you know, managing it with price slabs and the way things are going, which I'm super happy with the investment that I made. You know, cash on cash is really good, but I don't know. Like I'm all self-owned. I don't have JV partners. You know, I'm not trying to scale as quickly as some may want to. Like I'm happy with the cash flow, and I'd rather just like, you know, buy smart and make sure they cash flow really well. I don't know. That's just my thought.
My question's regarding, do you ever hedge your currency in terms of FX? It could be applying for your LP experience as well, but in general, if you were scaling the business, it could be easily up or down 20% in terms of currency, right? So how do you think about that?
I mean, that's why I still have the property on my Canadian HELOC, because that interest rate with the exchange rate is comfortable, where my American one without it. But I don't know. Maybe you can tell me about it. I don't know. No, I don't have any sort of strategy around that. Yeah.
Well, you picked the right at the back, eh? All right, I'm gonna come. It's okay. I'm getting my steps in. It's good for Kilimanjaro.
Your son quit on you, Quinn, or what happened?
I just had a couple questions about the Airbnb insurance. Is there anything you know of or that you've heard of that can void that insurance on a particular stay? And then the other thing I was going to ask you is, when you do have a claim, do you have to have like a before and after photo of the unit, or do they just kind of take your word for it?
No, and that's why the photos after each clean is so crucial, because I do have photos of before on every turnover. So. And then that's why if there's an issue, I'll have my cleaner knows to take a picture of it and document it. So I will have a before and after if the guest hasn't told me about that. And your first question about voiding the insurance, is there a way to void the insurance? Not that I know of, but I also have regular insurance on the condo too. And even the lender made me beef up my insurance. Like I have coverage if there was an event, I have like 6 months rental insurance, because like the lender made me increase my insurance policy on the condo as well. So I don't know, I haven't run into anything like that. Sometimes like the values, they'll give you less than what you can show them the receipt. Look, I paid for this rug, it was $500. There's a wine stain on it, but they're gonna say, well, there's wear and tear on it, so we value it at, they'll depreciate it, which I get too, so, but. Just to get anything back is to me a win in my book, and utilizing that has helped with the quote unquote wear and tear on the property. But I will say that the wear and tear on like a rental properties, and my rental properties in Ontario, I'm like, you go into your property, do your annual inspection, I'm like, whoa, I rented this last year kind of thing, where these ones are being thoroughly cleaned, and the guest mentality is different. They're there, they know they're being rated, so I mean, I can't tell you how clean the units are, so far, knock on wood.
Last question. Anybody wants the last one? Okay.
I'm just curious how your analysis for your long-term properties here differ from the analysis that you would do on your short-term Airbnb properties, like your pre-purchase analysis.
Yeah, I mean, I always have focused on cash left in the deal. So when I'm converting around here, if I could do, what a lot of investors in here did, calling a full BRRRR where they can pull out all their money, that was always the objective, or cash on cash return. I know some people want to include mortgage paydown, or they want to include appreciation. I don't. I mean, even the condos now are selling for 1.1, so I haven't made money on the appreciation, but all I care about when I was looking at a turnkey is what is the cash on cash return. If I'm going to invest $290, what is that return for me? So to me, if I can pull out all my money, like in a duplex, if I did actually do the BRRRR, I didn't follow through with it, but to me that would have been in my calculation $60K left in the deal, which is what I am comfortable with. So. For me, I'm just looking at, what is the return on investment of what you have to invest, and if you can BRRRR it or you can, turn over your capital, even better. That was my strategy with the the duplex, and it still is, but that's my main focus with it, is what's the cash on cash return.
All right, I know that we could probably ask questions all night, but just on behalf of everybody here, Cam, really appreciate it. Love the jacket.
I got dressed up for you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.